I have to come right to you. First of all, your dad departed right here. Yep, can you stand up? Because he just said to me, that's my daughter. I want that whole row to stand up. Well, listen, don't say another word. That's what you pay me for. Pass that microphone over. I just heard when I'm connecting, he kept saying to me, that's my daughter, that's my daughter. And it's so funny because he was jumping up and down. Can you take this microphone? Oh. See that? Asking you, shall we see who you're here with?
My best friend, Teresa.
Perfect. So know that, first of all, when I'm connecting, know that your dad is here. And the first thing that he's telling me is, Matt, he goes, I have to tell my daughter that I made it to the afterlife, that I am fine. He says, but the one thing that's really tough is that when I'm connecting with your dad, he just said to me, Matt, I'm coming through to my daughter because I wish that I would have gotten to enjoy my life more here in this world. When I'm connecting with his soul, this was a man who was sick here in the physical world. And it was a lingering type of thing. It went on and on and on and on. And your dad kept saying to me, Matt, he goes, I want to tell my daughter, he says, that I really tried my hardest to live and enjoy life. He says, but I felt like every time I got better, he says, every time that I started to make progress with my health, he goes, I got hit with another thing, another thing, another thing. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Your dad wants to thank you for being his hero here in this world. He says, because your dad suffered so much here in this world that he didn't know what it was like to actually feel healthy, to actually feel good. And he tells me that whatever was going on in his body, it attacked his whole body. Your dad tells me about him having issues with mobility, like being able to walk at the end. He's also telling me that there was also issues with him eating, like there was issues with him like swallowing. He couldn't eat certain foods. Do you understand that?
I do.
And your dad said to me, he goes, Matt, I had to be first tonight. He says, because the one thing is when your dad died, the one thing that he thought about was coming back and delivering this message to you. He says, I wish that my daughter could see me now. I wish that my daughter could see how healthy that I am in the afterlife, because what haunts you every single day is going back and looking at your dad and thinking about the memories of how frail he was, about how he looked like a different person. Yeah. Your dad says to me, I want you to remember me as the pictures that you have of me from back in the day. Your dad just showed me a vision of the sepia tone picture that I see of your dad, of like back when he was like a young man. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And your dad also tells me that he was your best friend here in the physical world.
We did everything together.
I know. He actually talks about, at the end of his life, you spending every single moment with him. So did you move him in with you?
I did. I went off work. I took stress leave and left work and nursed him.
Perfect. He just said to me, he's thanking you for his apartment, he's calling it. So he tells me like you made him this little room, or you made him this little apartment where like he stayed, and you tried to make it look like his room, he tells me. Because he shows me like you hanging up pictures and like making it look so nice, and your dad wants to let you know this. He says to me that the one thing is that he held on for as long as he did because of the fact that he knew that you were relying on that connection. Your life became taking care of your dad at a young age. Mm-hmm. And he tells me, like, even before he moved in with you, that you were always worried about him. You were always worried that something was going to happen to him, that he was going to die, that something was going to take place. And your dad just said to me, Matt, he says, my daughter deserves a medal, he says, for the way that she took care of me.
I wouldn't even go to the store. I wouldn't leave. I was frantic that something would happen while I was gone.
But I also want to talk about what happened after. Because your dad tells me that the day that he died, it's almost like you feel like you lost your life purpose. Because all your life, right, you were worried about your dad. You were daddy's little girl. He's showing pictures of you and him with, you being on his lap, and your dad was your everything. And at the end, I see you like tracking doctor's appointments, tracking his schedule, like tracking medications, doing all of these things. And the day they died, it's like, you're like, what am I going to do now? Your father wants to let you know one thing. He says most people don't have the relationship that we had with one another. They don't have that bond. They don't have that love. He says, and I got to tell you, he says that even though I was so sick, he says what he loved the most was the time that he spent with you, watching TV, getting movies on the channel with one another, because he was like always about like, what are we going to watch? What are we going to watch? What movie you're putting on? Do you understand that?
Yeah.
And your dad says to me that he wants to see you now continue to live life in a different way. He says to me that the one thing is that you said, oh my God, when I don't have so many responsibilities, I want to travel. I want to go different places. I want to do all these things. And you had like this whole list, right, of things that you would do if your dad were to pass away or not be here. And your father says, you're not holding up your end of the bargain. He says, Matt,
Not
he says,
yet.
I died. He says, and now all of a sudden she doesn't want to do anything anymore. Your dad just said to me from the other side this. He says, if you could see me now, you don't have to worry. And your dad actually just said to me, oh, I just got the chills. He tells me that he came to you in a dream where you saw him and he was completely healthy and he was completely fine.
Both my mother and myself had the same dream the same night.
That was your father.
Yep.
He said to me, I showed you this because I wanted to show you that I was completely okay. I wanted to show you that I was fine. And I wanted to show you that I am here and I am with you. So your dad just said to me that no matter where you go, he says, please know that I am watching over you in spirit. I am okay. He says, but you don't have to search for my soul anymore. He says, because I am always right there and by your side.
Wow.
Okay. I'm going to leave you with that. Give them a round of applause.
Thank you.
And then hold on, stay standing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did you all